Rivalries are the lifeblood of hockey.
The volume level in the building definitely goes up.
I love going into hostile territory.
Rivalry, pure and simple, is hatred.
Here's Crosby, he scores!
Sometimes it's just a flashpoint.
This is a slash heel first. Kind of a two-handed chop right to the hand.
Where one moment freezes in time.
Ron Francis, goal from center ice.
And intensity rises to the occasion.
Lundqvist sends something to Crosby.
You're always pretty sore the next day after playing those guys.
It's one of the most arrogant organizations in the league.
That rivalry has gone on for a long time.
Although the Penguins were part of the 1967 expansion, they did not join the same division as the Heritage Rangers until 1981. There were no fireworks among these division foes, at least not until the Penguins secured the cornerstone of the franchise 3 years later and hung a Do Not Disturb sign around his neck.
Mario Lemieux.
It was a New York autumn evening in October 1988.
Welcome live to Madison Square Garden.
Mario Lemieux and the Penguins were in town to face their Patrick Division rivals, the Rangers. Just 4 years into his career, Lemieux had already established himself as an NHL superstar, recognized as an invaluable asset by the entire Penguins franchise.
To get Mario here in '84 was everything. It changed everything. It gave us hope. We didn't talk about winning Stanley Cups. We just wanted to be respected throughout the league, and Mario gave us that respect.
But Halloween Eve at the world's most famous arena was about to turn scary for Super Mario.
And Lemieux goes after Shaw, who whacked him with a stick. Yes, oh, that's awful.
You don't hit Mario Lemieux at any time, at least from the perspective of the Penguins. And David Shaw went for the throat.
David Shaw using his stick in that fashion.
Just awful.
It is awful.
Shaw hits Lemieux. Lemieux goes down, stays there for maybe 5 minutes, and all hell breaks loose.
And now the entire Penguins bench wants to get at David Shaw.
This has gotten crazy,
ugly.
and I hate to see
This is
this.
just an ugly, ugly incident. They need some police help out there.
Everybody is up in arms, and all they want to do is get at David Shaw. And of course, that creates all kinds of mayhem, because if you touch Mario, you're asking for trouble.
And the Penguins are trying to get at the Rangers.
Things get so bad that Garden Security orders taxis to come into the building, drive right up the ramp so the Penguins, after the game, can make their escape.
David Shaw's slash ignited a brawl-filled game that featured 250 penalty minutes and 9 game misconducts in the third period alone.
No, it's not over yet, folks. Oh, Hilliard's throwing a couple of good lefts. Petit comes back.
And then he connect with a right. And there goes Johnson.
What is this?
Kissio on top of him.
Man, what is this?
At the Garden tonight, more goon hockey. David Shaw, the Rangers, ejected, suspended indefinitely for using his stick like an axe against Mario Lemieux.
The NHL would suspend Shaw 12 games for his actions, the third longest suspension ever handed out at the time. 6 months later, with bad blood serving as the backdrop, the two teams were getting ready to meet in the playoffs. But New York GM Phil Esposito made a rash decision 5 days before the series was to begin.
I did fire my coach with 1 game to go, Michel Bergeron, and the only reason I fired him is he went over my head for the 3rd time. And 3 strikes, you're out.
I can still visualize Michel Bergeron getting into the cab and the cab pulling away from the hotel, and I'm shaking my head and just wondering, what's going on here? Why is this happening?
Phil Esposito is our GM, and he fired our coach, Michel Bergeron, and he came down and coached.
When I privately spoke with Phil, I said, what did you do here? He said, don't worry, Sam. The guys are going to rally around me. We're going to get it done. We're going to win.
Esposito's wishful thinking was for naught. Pittsburgh dominated New York.
Hoppy rushes down the left side. Didn't do that too often. Shoots it hard, scores! He beat goaltender Bob Froese like a rented mule. Now he gets it again. McAway in front. Got a man right there. Cunningworth. Hey! Shoots and scores with a brilliant backhand shot. And the Penguins now lead 5-1.
Down 3 games to none and facing a series sweep, Esposito once again made an impulsive decision. He inserted rookie goalie Mike Richter as his Game 4 starter.
That's baptism by fire. He was playing on a Rangers team that had lost its coach, had lost its confidence. And you're playing against, at that point, the best player in the world.
It was a tough situation for Mike to come in to a playoff game, Game 4, and try to keep your team alive.
I said to the time, when the Rangers win a Stanley Cup, Mike Richter will be the goalie. That's why I put him in the last game.
Making his NHL debut, the 22-year-old was simply overmatched.
Back in behind the goal. Lemieux puts it in front, a deflection in. Ronnie Brown gets the goal. He's got Cunneyworth there, a backhand shot right in front. Lemieux scores!
Richter was really good in that last game, but none of us, not anybody on our team, the Rangers, could stop Mario. Nobody.
It's all over as the Pittsburgh Penguins have defeated the New York Rangers, and they have won the semifinal Patrick Division playoff series.
Lemieux and the Penguins overpowered the Rangers. But 3 years later, in their next playoff meeting, Pittsburgh had its hands full.
A penalty called on Graves.
I still believe it was one of the worst calls I've ever seen.
Graves used the heel of his stick to chop at Lemieux's hand.
The Adam Graves slash was a big turning point in that series.
By 1992, Mario Lemieux's rise to the top of the NHL was complete. With one cup title on his resume, number 66 and the Pens were now the Hunted. And their toughest challenge to repeat will come from their Patrick Division rivals in New York.
The Rangers got their man today, 30-year-old superstar center Mark Messier from Edmonton.
I looked at the situation. I really thought the Rangers are a great young team, and if I can come here and contribute in any way, I'm looking forward to doing that.
He was slightly past his prime as a player. His best years were in Edmonton, but he was still very, very good, and he just took charge.
Mark Messier embraced New York. He embraced the challenge. He loved it.
Mark Messier's arrival in New York reinvigorated the Broadway Blue Shirts. New York had gone 52 years without winning the Stanley Cup. But in Messier's first season, the Rangers would win the President's Trophy as the NHL's best regular season team.
The President's Trophy!
Mark Messier comes in, and his charge is to lead the Rangers to the Stanley Cup. They win the President's Trophy, and here they are in the second round playing against the Penguins.
They were a top team that year in the National Hockey League. They were loaded. They had Messier. We were defending champs, and that they wanted to knock us off our pedestal.
Mario's Penguins would meet Messier's Rangers in the 1992 Patrick Division Final. But once again, controversy would center around Lemieux on the Garden Ice.
A penalty called on Graves right away.
Dan Marawelli's arm went up.
I remember him taking a good swing at him, there's no question, and hitting him, but I knew he hit him in the glove. So my initial reaction is that Mario was overreacting, and that, he was trying to draw a bigger penalty.
Back then, guys hacking hands was part of the game. So to see, Adam Graves take a hack at Mario Lemieux was nothing extraordinary.
This is a slash heel first. Kind of a two-handed chop right to the hand.
I hit him too hard, but at the time, I didn't think anything of it. It was a different game at that time, and you would play the hands.
Now it looks like he's skating towards the penalty box, so it'll be just 2 minutes. It's a slashing call for 2 minutes.
After seeing the play on replay, I said, wow, I did hit him too hard. But when you're playing, you don't think about that. And at times, my game was on the edge, but that's just the way I played.
Scotty Bowman is upset with the call.
I've been going at him for a long time. That's not his style. But we all throw a whack at somebody, and if it catches them in the hand, not our intention. But that one caught Mario right in the hand, and that thing happened, and all of a sudden, it does escalate.
Mario's hand is broken, and he's out indefinitely. Broken bone in his hand.
But I remember Scotty Bowman having a meeting with us and looked us all in the eye and said, I don't want you guys to do anything. That was difficult because you wanted to do something.
I don't think I'm a dirty player, and in no way did I try to hit Mario Lemieux. To think that's crazy. He's an unreal hockey player.
Everyone says Adam Graves isn't that kind of player. Well, that day, he was that player. It was a two-hander, broke Lemieux's left hand. Brian O'Neill had no choice but to suspend Graves.
The NHL has ruled that Adam Graves did not deliberately injure Mario Lemieux, but they suspended him 4 games anyway for being reckless.
Because I did hurt Mario Lemieux then, and I got a penalty, I've got to serve it. You know, you've got to stand by your actions. I'll never forget the play because I did slash him and obviously deserved to be suspended. And that particular time when I was asked about that, that's exactly what I said.
Without Lemieux in the lineup, New York would win Game 3, and they appeared headed to a commanding 3-1 series lead in Game 4 with a 2-goal lead. But then, the unthinkable happened.
Teams at full strength. Francis, big shot. Score! Right through Richter. Oh, what a turnaround.
You can't believe it. It's like, okay, let's see this on the replay. How did this happen?
It was a harmless-looking play, but as an old goaltender would say, it's one that's got to be stopped.
I remember being surprised the puck went in. I think we all were. Mike was, you know, the guy that we looked to in our backbone, and, you know, he was watching it all the way in. It's just one of those that went on edge and squeaked through his pads and then rolled in behind him.
A minute 25 after the Francis goal, Troy Loney beat Richter to tie the game at 4. With their 2-goal lead gone, New York made a goalie change. Mike Richter was out. John Van Beesbroek was in. Still, the Penguins carried their momentum into overtime.
Messier is there. He's got it. He's tied up by Murphy. A shot. Score! The Penguins win. 5-4.
The Rangers never recovered from the Game 4 loss. The Penguins took Game 5 and then tried to close out New York 2 nights later in Pittsburgh.
McEachran shot. Scores! 3-1. Pittsburgh. Over. And the crowd goes crazy. Those hard-working Pittsburgh Penguins without Mario Lemieux were too much.
The Adam Graves slash was a big turning point in that series. It dialed us in. It got us all on the same page and kind of win one for Mario.
I still believe it was one of the worst calls I've ever seen. There was no doubt it called for a penalty for slashing. A 4-game suspension? No. No way.
Even reflecting on it now, I'm probably not welcome back in Pittsburgh on a regular basis.
We never did anything to Adam Graves. We beat him in the series is what we did. That was our payback to Adam Graves and the Rangers.
The series was over, but the controversy surrounding the Graves slash lingered for weeks until Lemieux offered his take on the incident.
Lemieux always believed that Roger Nielsen, the Rangers coach, had ordered some kind of hit on him.
Roger had told his players to take him out of the game, and you know, when I saw Adam coming at me, I knew that he wasn't kidding around.
It's ludicrous. I mean, I didn't try to hurt the guy, and I'm getting tired of answering this because, you know, I say what I feel and no one listens to me anyways.
Lemieux would return in time to lead the Penguins to their 2nd consecutive Stanley Cup title. On top of his game and the hockey world, he would turn in a virtuoso performance the following season on Madison Square Garden ice, a night that Lemieux and the New York fans would not soon forget.
He shoots and scores. Mario Lemieux. The Penguins have scored, and they lead 4-3. The hat trick for Mario Lemieux. Mario Lemieux deflects it by Richter. His 4th of the night. Well, here's Lemieux looking for number 5. Back into the Rangers in. Walks in on goaltender Richter, and he backhands it in. He gets it 5th. Mario Lemieux with his 5th goal of the game.
That's a classic performance, and when you see greatness in front of you, you have to appreciate it and applaud for it.
We're giving Mario Lemieux a standing ovation here in New York.
It's embarrassing as a player. I mean, he's a great player, but when someone scores 5 goals in the different ways he did it, it's a tough one to be a part of.
Still to come, the Rangers are embarrassed again, this time by the dynamic duo of Lemieux and Jaromir Jagr.
Here's Jagr again, shooting and scores!
After 54 years, your long wait is over. Captain Mark Messier, come get the Stanley Cup.
In June of 1994, Mark Messier and the Rangers would end their cup drought by winning their first championship since 1940. In an effort to maximize the window of opportunity under Messier to win again, They acquired 2 veteran All-Stars before the start of the 1995 campaign. Their trading partner? Their old rivals, the Penguins.
A 4-player blockbuster with Pittsburgh, the Rangers get Luc Robitaille and Ulf Samuelsson. Sergei Zubov and Peter Nedved go to the Penguins.
When they made the trade, I was surprised. I really thought that we gave up, important younger players.
Samuelsson was played well, but he wasn't the same player he had been in the early 90s when Pittsburgh won its 2 cups. Robitaille had a really tough time here.
There's always that feeling in New York that your goal is to win that year, as opposed to, let's keep building. And Marc Messier being one of our leaders, they thought he was on his last leg.
The trade just blew up in their faces because they wound up playing Pittsburgh in the second round in '96, and it was embarrassing. It was embarrassing how one-sided the trade had become.
Peter Nedved and Sergei Zubov bolstered an already explosive offensive attack, something New York learned firsthand in the 1996 Eastern Conference semifinal.
Cross-ice, Jagr. Score! Jagr, what a move. Look at him go. Lemieux, shot. Oh, my gosh! You'll not see a prettier goal ever.
The duo of Lemieux and Jagr toyed with the Blue Shirts, combining for an astounding 15 goals in the Pens' 5-game series victory.
Mario and Yarmer just too much in the series.
Jagr would leave Pittsburgh after the 2001 season, and after a brief stint in Washington, he would sign with New York, where he would face his original team and the Penguins' newest superstar, Sidney Crosby, in the 2008 playoffs.
Change the point of attack. Crosby! Deflection score!
Crosby would lead Pittsburgh to a 3-0 series lead, forcing Jagr and the Rangers to the brink of elimination.
Between games 3 and 4, Jagr held court where he talked for a long time about how he couldn't do the same things at 36 as he did at 26, and would this be his last game in the NHL coming up in game 4?
Gave it back up to Jagr. Jagr pulled and shot. He scored! What a shot by Jaromir Jagr.
It was a pretty special moment when he came on the ice when he was introduced as the first start. People expected it was probably going to be his last game at the Garden as a Ranger, and it was. They lost game 5 in overtime.
Crosby gained the zone, flipped on by Dupuis, and that shot.
After Game 5, Jagr would temporarily retire from the NHL, but he left behind a renewed rivalry between his former teams and a simmering feud between Crosby and New York goaltender Henrik Lundqvist.
Sidney Crosby has become that villain when the Penguins visit Madison Square Garden.
A feud ignited by an apparent innocent moment in March of 2010 at Madison Square Garden.
Sid just got tripped up there. Penalty upcoming on the Rangers.
So when he goes down, you think, did he really get knocked down, or did he embellish it? And for Henrik Lundqvist, I think he felt that Sidney took a dive, and he wanted to let him know.
Lundqvist said something to Crosby. Crosby shoved Lundqvist. Crosby buying the penalty. It was interference. He bought it, and Lundqvist didn't like it.
Maybe there was a few incidents during that game where I felt he could have, be standing up a little bit more.
I think what they're accusing Crosby of is taking a dive here. And I think that's why the fans reacted by booing right away. For Sidney, that's not necessarily anything new because he's been accused of that throughout his career. At times, he'll do anything to try and win, and that includes embellishing.
Does Sidney get the benefit of the doubt? Does he get treated differently? Absolutely he does.
He's the best player in the game, so you try to get under his skin a little bit, physically and mentally.
While Crosby and Lundqvist would continue their battle on the ice, this rivalry was about to escalate into a nasty war of words.
This is leg on leg, and Stepan is really hurt.
It's a cheap, dirty hit. It's one of the most arrogant organizations in the league. They whine about this stuff all the time.
Here's Crosby back. Henry scores!
The Rangers-Penguins games the last 5 or 6 years have had a special feel.
A save by Lundqvist!
Sidney Crosby and Henrik Lundqvist fueled the next generation of the Rangers-Penguins Atlantic Division rivalry. But a dirty elbow here.
That is nasty. That was a cheap shot by Matt Cook.
And an illegal play there.
Crosby slew-foots him.
Did you think you were slew-footed by Crosby? Yeah, absolutely. I thought he, kicked my feet out from underneath me.
Sparked memories of controversy from an era gone by. When the two teams met in April of 2012, New York coach John Tortorella turned up the heat to a fever pitch.
Oh, that's knee on knee.
Stepan went down.
That was Orpik stepping up on the plate.
I saw Orpik hit step. I didn't think it was a clean hit.
You can see how upset John Tortorella is.
I think it bordered on dirty, but Brooks Orpik, he's played the same way throughout his career. And I believe that it's a play that could have been avoided.
It's on now. I mean, both teams are incensed.
Concern for Derek Stepan on that play on the hit to knee to knee.
Absolutely. It's a cheap, dirty hit. It's just, I wonder what would happen if we did it to their two whining stars over there. I wonder what would happen.
John being John, as we all know, he couldn't help himself. He hated to lose, and if the Pittsburgh Penguins beat him, it bothered him.
It's one of the most arrogant organizations in the league. They whine about this stuff all the time, and look what happens.
The perception the Rangers have is that Penguins stars have been protected by the league. It's kind of like hands off, hands off Crosby, hands off Malkin. It's like these guys, some people think they should be bubble wrapped.
It's ridiculous. But they'll whine about something else over there, won't they?
I don't know what he's talking about. I mean, if you want, you can put a camera on us all game. Put a camera on Callahan all game, and you'll see who's over there more. So he should worry about his own players.
We're all competitive and things happen on the ice. I think to a certain point, that's where they should stay. Everyone has their opinion, and some people feel the need to share it a little bit more than others.
Tortorella's comments did get the attention of the league. He was fined $20,000 for his rant.
Torts is such an emotional person, and we've seen him for years, right? He just has a difficult time shutting his mouth when he shouldn't say anything.
They are the battles of a venerable rivalry that has spanned parts of 6 decades and 3 divisions. Where tensions boil over. Where villains are born. Where hockey brilliance has been almost commonplace. Where a hero can have a homecoming. And where hockey's young prince can try to dethrone a king. Passion and purpose rule in the Grand Penguins-Rangers rivalry.